Hi, good evening, everybody. I am so delighted that you're able to join us, and I am also delighted for those of you that are seeing the recording of this discussion tonight. I realize it's hard for everybody to come together at one time, but we like to come together and host a very important women's workshop once a month on Wednesday night. This is the Wednesday night Women Wellness Wisdom Wednesday Workshop. Mouthful. I say that, it's a mouthful every time, but I'm getting really smooth at it. My name is Jen Bloom. I'm delighted to be hosting this venue. I want to share a little bit with you about our women's movement, our initiative, if you'd like to call it that. We are a group of women from all over the country and even outside of the United States that represent a very dedicated, determined group of women that are really committed to bringing health, happiness, inspiration to their communities. And I don't mean just in their local community where they live, amongst the people that they know, but online, offline, just anywhere they possibly can. And this group of women is a group that is incredibly dynamic, that feed off of camaraderie and teamwork and come from multiple backgrounds, multiple ethnicities, with incredible professional skill sets. And that's what's exciting, to be able to showcase these extraordinary women every month on our Wednesday workshop. So what I'd like you to understand is every workshop is dedicated to something different. Sometimes our topics are on physical health, sometimes they are on emotional health, sometimes they are on spiritual health, and sometimes they are on financial health. And so always stay tuned to what we're doing, because I believe that our discussions reach everybody on one level. Tonight, I'm so enthusiastic to be introducing a very special friend first and colleague of mine that I am not the only one that has tremendous respect for her, but anybody that knows her in her personal life and her professional life, they have tremendous respect for her. I'm going to be introducing JenniferArmendariz. I love to pronounce her last name, whether I do it right or wrong. I just love the way it sounds. And I want you to know where she's from, which is El Paso, Texas. So Texas strong in the house. And I want you to realize that this is a woman that is in a very loving marriage, married to a wonderful husband. I know that firsthand because I've observed the relationship that they have and the mutual respect that they have for each other, and just how much he supports her as a wife, as a mother, and as a professional in her career. And I always like to give thanks to the other half in a relationship, because I appreciate that. I want you to also know that she is a woman that has 15 years in the healthcare industry, very diverse. Her experience has been from hospital settings to private practice settings. She, beyond just being in nursing, she furthered her credentials and became a nurse practitioner. And as a nurse practitioner, she has been working in settings like family medicine, where she's been able to be an asset to the physicians and patients, helping them with a multitude of different problems. And then she expanded her horizons and went into, I want to say, a deeper part of medicine, which is more serious, and that is when people are dealing with the terrible diagnosis of cancer. And her specialty now is in oncology, and that's become the focus of her career. I have to say that we are not the only people that respect her. Texas respects her. She was literally named by the Texas Nurses Association as Nurse of the Year. That's huge. So she's not only Mommy of the Year and Wife of the Year, she's been Nurse of the Year. You hold it all, Jen. So here's our plan this evening. We're going to do an interview. I'm going to ask Jennifer questions, things that I thought of that I felt would be important information, simple information for people to digest that they're curious about. So we don't get too technical and too medical. We want to keep it very surface-like. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about tangible content that I think you'll walk away from that will be information you didn't have before. So on that note, Jennifer, I'm going to give you a moment to come to the forefront and say a few words before we get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jan. I'm really happy to be here with this group, and it's quite an honor for me to be speaking. Technology is awesome that we can all get together and listen and share ideas. And the main purpose of our talk tonight is because I am going to tell you how I don't want you to become my patient. Yes, you heard me right. I want to keep all of you out of my office. You know, cancer is one of those things that has affected many of us, whether it's personal or in our family, friends, or coworkers. You know, not only is this something that has, you know, it's my everyday life with my patients, but back when I was a junior in high school, my mom was diagnosed with kidney cancer. And back then, I certainly didn't know how to handle that, what that really meant, what was going to happen. It's crazy how the impact it has on families. And you know, back in 2011, I was pregnant with my son, and my aunt was diagnosed with lung cancer. Was there with her through the radiation, the diagnosis. Thank God she's great, cancer-free, both my mom and my aunt. But on a day-to-day basis, you know, I see the emotional toll that it takes on my patients every day, the tough treatments, the side effects. And many of these patients, you know, they're working, going through treatment, they're dealing with the side effects of it, and I'm just amazed at the strength and the resilience that they have during their cancer treatments.
So a personal thing in your life is what brought you to make this the focus of your career. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what drives probably the best healthcare professionals, is when they've had something personal touch their life, because they can be so empathetic because of that experience. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to probably ask, I don't want to say no question is a dumb question, but I'm going to go really to the basics. You know, everybody hears the word cancer, Jennifer, and they think cancer. Oh my God. But mm-hmm. like, what is cancer, and what causes cancer? Why do people get cancer?
Yeah. No, that's a very good question, and that's something that we have to talk about with our patients all the time too. And if we look just at the basic part of it and break it down, it's a change in the appearance of a normal cell. So our body is exposed to cancerous cells on a day-to-day basis, but our body and our immune system is so smart that it recognizes them, it destroys it, and it gets rid of those cells. On the other hand, though, is these cancer cells, they've become smart, and they can change their appearance. So sometimes when they change their appearance, our body, it might not be able to catch on as quickly, and our immune system may not see that the cancer cell is growing, and it's not that our body's letting it, but our body just doesn't recognize it. So that's when it kind of just keeps growing and spreads and proliferates throughout the whole body. You know, as far as causes of cancer, there's a lot. You know, it could be our genetics. It could be the environment that we live in, the toxins that we're exposed to, whether it's pesticides, whether it's, you know, cleaning materials here at the home, of course, smoking, diet, lack of exercise. You know, in fact, the American Cancer Society found that a third of all cancer deaths are actually attributed to obesity and lack of physical activity and poor diet. That's crazy. You know, another big one, and one that we'll talk about today a lot too, is chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a huge thing with cancer as well.
So speaking about inflammation, you know, I think when people hear inflammation, they think of arthritic conditions. Mm-hmm. They think of, you know, something swollen. But I don't know that people really understand. And I know that they don't know it because I didn't know it until somebody shared this information with me. They don't understand inflammation on the inside. And I thought maybe you can expand upon that. And then you mentioned how, you know, diet and exercise can play a role in it. I wondered, can you take and lump those two things together and talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So, you know, inflammation, it's actually a protective mechanism. We need to have inflammation. So when we, sprain our ankle, or we bump our knee, or fall off a bike like I did not too long ago, we have this swelling, and that's actually used to protect us and eventually start the healing process. We need that. But the problem is when we have chronic inflammation. That's a big deal. So when we have chronic inflammation in our body, toxins are being released constantly, and they're actually starting to destroy our tissue. So the crazy thing too is that we can have inflammation going on in our body and not really know it. It's kind of a silent thing, even like high blood pressure. So I found it crazy when I was in nursing school and we had to do these huge pathophysiology sheets and trace down the root of health conditions. And when you look at things like heart disease, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, even Alzheimer's, cancer, it all triggers down to inflammation. And I mentioned earlier that we might not know we have it. There are certain blood tests that we can check in our blood, some things called the SED rate, that looks for inflammation. There's also something called the C-reactive protein. That's also something that can be traced into our blood and find out if we have high levels of that. Inflammation happens from a lot of different things. It can be things like a bad diet, the toxins, the exercise, and all of these things can kind of build up in our body, and then they cause like a trauma to our body. And our body wants to fix it. It wants to fix that. And sometimes what happens is we can actually start making these free radicals to try and fix it. But these free radicals, they try and get to the tissue and the blood and clean it all up. But then when we have too many of these, we actually have the opposite happen, and we have damage to our arteries, our vessels, our tissue. And it's like, well, what are we doing to expose ourselves to all of these bad things? And when I started looking more and more into nutrition, you start to think, well, do I eat out a lot? How often? What type of oils am I cooking with? I didn't get a nutrition class that long in nursing school. It was maybe a few weeks in summer school. So all of these things I just had to learn along the way. And when you think about things like vegetable oils cause a lot of inflammation in our body, we want to think about, well, what can we consume? So anti-inflammatory fats and oils. So grass-fed butter, believe it or not, they have more omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, versus products that have omega-6, which are pro-inflammation. We don't want those things. Coconut oil is great. Then I found out that omega-6 is actually present in a lot of our processed foods. So it could be salad dressings, mayonnaise, sauces, and then these oils, we cook them at high temperatures, and then they become toxic. So then we're having, exposure even from that. If you want to consume, if you want to consume more omega-3 rich foods, you want things like wild salmon and herring and trout, and you want things like 2 to 3 servings a week, because when you choose the wild varieties, they're actually better than the farmed fish because you don't have all these contaminants and pollutants. So, we're talking about diet and exercise, and that can be, oh yes, I know, eat a good diet. Oh yeah, I know, go exercise. But it's also something that people need to know about when we're talking with our patients and people in general, that actually obesity is also a form of chronic inflammation. So you have this constant chronic form of inflammation going on in our body, and our immune system won't be able to function as well. So if our immune system's not functioning as well to fight off a cold, a sinus infection, how's it going to fight off those cancer cells that we're being exposed to and destroy them and get rid of them? I found when I was doing my research this past week, I also saw there was this study from the American Institute of Cancer Research, and they found, I didn't know that the number was this high, that 60% of women who get diagnosed with endometrial cancer, it actually could have been prevented by proper diet and exercise. 60, like 60. That's huge. I didn't know that, and I mean, I'm in oncology, I just, that astounded me. We have to teach people and our patients, the things like the body mass index, and, that's the ratio between our height and weight. And sometimes people don't take me as serious when I'm talking to them about that stuff, but it's so important because we want them to be as healthy as they possibly can be. So diet and exercise is super, super helpful.
Okay. You made a comment before that I could really relate to. You said something when you were in nursing school, you really didn't get a lot of nutritional training. So I'm married to a medical doctor, and he's a classically trained MD. And I always tease him that the day they taught nutrition in medical school, he was absent. And he says, no, he was just in the bathroom. So very few classically trained healthcare providers get that nutritional training. But today, you're seeing more and more healthcare providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs, people that are in classical medicine are doing integrative medicine. And there's a huge surge in what I've heard to be called medical nutrition. And so I've heard that, but I've never really heard it defined. And I wondered if you can talk about medical nutrition, and can you share any dietary recommendations? You're sitting here and talking about diet and lifestyle type of things in general, but are there any specifics? And thanks for sharing. I'm going to get going with coconut oil. I'm totally getting rid of the oil that you mentioned. That was something I learned tonight from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Talk about some of the dietary recommendations, things that you think people might not know about.
Well, one of the big ones is there's so much research about fiber, and the recommendation even from the American Heart Association is that we should be getting 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. Well, you can say that all day long, and people aren't going to know what that means. And so when you break it down, like, okay, well, maybe you can incorporate 2 cups of fruit, 2.5 cups of vegetables a day. People still don't know what that means. That's not a lot. So I kind of looked at stuff like, okay, well, maybe if you make a salad, you put a cup of bell peppers in there, you cut up a whole carrot, that's about 4 grams of fiber. But the reason I know how much nutritional content is because I looked it up. I don't think many people are going to take the time to look it up. That's just not our lifestyle anymore. So we want you to eat healthy. We want you to eat your fruits and vegetables. But 25 to 35 grams of fiber is also equivalent to 8 heads of lettuce, I believe. So unless you're going to sit there all day long and eat 8 heads of lettuce, nobody's going to do that. That's why medical nutrition is important, because this is what we're doing is we're putting into our diet what we're missing. And what we're missing is that 30 grams of fiber that we need. So a lot of agencies will also, the American Heart Association will recommend it is, this is going to sound really crazy, but it's 10 to 25 grams of highly viscous soluble fiber and 2 grams of plant sterols and plant stanols. Again, nobody's going to understand any of that. But I will tell you that when I was in nursing school, they showed us those recommendations and we bypassed those completely because all we went to was the statin and the cholesterol medication. So if we're not taking the time to learn about it either, we're not teaching our patients about it either. I guarantee it. So, there's different supplements that we can use. And, one of those things we do use something like Balance to help get the fiber that we need. I was a person that suffered from irritable bowel syndrome forever. And what does irritable bowel syndrome come down to? It comes to inflammation in the body. High cholesterol comes from inflammation in the body. Those are things that will help you. But I also was surprised when I was looking at anti-inflammatory supplements too, is that other things like zinc is really important for us, not only for our immune system, but to help break down or for anti-inflammatory use as well. Magnesium, not only is that great for actually to help us sleep at night, it also can bring down our C-reactive protein. That's one of the blood tests I mentioned to you that checks inflammation. I thought that was not something that we recommend a lot in practice. Melatonin, yeah, we all know that it's great for sleep, but you know what else it's really great for is also really helpful for prevention of Alzheimer's disease. I'm someone that has Alzheimer's in my family. My husband has it in his family too. And that is really awesome that we can do something now to do that. And remember, Alzheimer's, if you trace that down to, the root cause of it is inflammation. Vitamin D, that's huge also for our bringing down inflammation in the body. Many, I would say almost more than 90% of the patients I see, and I live in the Sun City. El Paso is known as the Sun City, or we're low on vitamin D. That's because we're under these fluorescent lights all day long. Vitamin D plays a huge role in anti-inflammatory properties, our mood, fatigue, and of course our bone health. So that was a big deal. And then another supplement that's great for bringing down inflammation in the gut is probiotics. So when we have a lot of craziness going on in our stomach, and there's you're bloated or you have irritable bowel, things like that, you want the probiotics to kind of help calm down all of that bad stuff, and that'll bring down the inflammation too. You don't want all that inflammation in your colon not working. You want it to work as well as it possibly can. So those are definitely some of the supplements that we recommend. And then of course there's diet and exercise as well.
So I'm really glad that you shared those supplements, because I'm the person who I would walk into GNC and I'd walk in there there's these favorite bars that I happen to like that are available from there. And I always, just out of curiosity, like to ask the person behind the counter a question about nutrition, just because being in the nutritional field, I like to see how much they know, and they never know anything except, oh, aisle 6, oh, aisle 3. So hearing you just say how zinc and magnesium and probiotics and things like that can be helpful with inflammatory conditions, that's great knowledge for us to have. So now we can direct ourselves to get our hands on those things. I want to move in the other direction that you talked about, which was physical activity and exercise, and so many programs that are available for people as far as going on Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, paleo diets, this diet. There's a million options. There's gyms and trainers, and people try to make dramatic changes in their life, and I don't know, my experience is that I see people make dramatic changes, but I don't know that they're able to maintain them. And I'm curious if you can talk about what you see to be the best solution. That, let's pretend we're all sitting in your exam room and you're having an analysis of our health history, and you have to prescribe the very best option for us, because we don't want inflammation, we don't want cancer, we don't want to be obese, we don't want hypertension, we don't want to have high cholesterol. What would you prescribe? What are you doing with your patients and even the people that you know maybe in your personal world?
Well, we recently we started a new program, a new exercise program, and a nutritional program too, called Get Fit 21. And in that program, I love it so much because I am able to reach more people than I can on a day-to-day basis that I see in my office. When I'm in the office, there's only a certain amount of people that I get to reach out and talk to about diet and exercise. Maybe 15 to 20, I guess, a day or so, right? Not all of them want to hear about diet and exercise. They really don't. But then in this standpoint, when I started working with Get Fit 21 and I saw all the lessons that we have on diet, nutrition, exercise, even accountability, positivity, I just fell in love with it, because I can now incorporate all the things that I really enjoy with fitness and coaching people. And I found something, like I love being a nurse practitioner, but I also found another little niche where I can help people all across the country, because we do all of this online. And every day during our 21 days, we're coaching people, we're helping them set their goals, but most importantly is we're keeping them accountable. So by keeping them accountable, they're reaching what they set for. And it's not all about weight. Some of them just want to feel better, to have more energy and to not ache as much. I can't believe how many people have told me how they have more energy, that they can do a plank. They never did a plank before. So we're teaching them all these new exercises, and it's a one-on-one experience, different from the gym. They're more than welcome to go to the gym, but we have all these people that come together that sometimes don't even know each other, and they all start to uplift and motivate each other. And you know what, Jan, I think that in this day and age and our world now, we all need a little bit uplifting and motivation every single day. So when these groups of people come together, I think it's fantastic that we do that. And especially, obviously this program is open for men and women, but I also love to see when women come together and they They really want to help each other. Sometimes we don't always do that. This platform is totally different in women, wellness, and wisdom. But when women come together, man, that's just going to sprinkle out to the rest of their day, to the rest of their world. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
So it sounds to me like you found a vehicle that you can touch more people's lives beyond the walls of your exam room. And the things that people are learning, they're learning in what venue? You're doing it through Facebook? How are you doing this?
Yeah, so, like I mentioned, they get their daily lessons via email we register them with the program, but then all the coaching is done through a secret Facebook group. So it allows people to be very comfortable because nobody can find them other than the group members. So people can feel very open about, posting, oh, I had a bad day, or hey, you know what, I didn't pass on that cheesecake, I went ahead and ate it, or whatever, and they don't feel like other people outside of our group can see that. So that's why I think it's been so successful. Absolutely.
So,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I think the 21-day concept is why, because they say it takes 21 days to form a habit. Is that the whole mindset behind it?
Yeah, that is definitely part of it. And I think also that 21 days is doable to do a lot. So what I mean by that is the results that people have with whether it be inches lost or pounds lost. I've had so many people tell me, oh, I've tried so many other programs. This probably isn't going to work for me. It's not going to give me the results. But then they're so surprised, even after week 1, the changes that have happened in their body. That, or the fact that they actually gave up sodas for the first time in like 5 years. So they realize with our lessons and our coaching the harm and the things that are happening to their body by drinking a soda on a daily basis. Or sometimes I've had some of my challengers who drink 2 or 3 sodas a day every day for the past 5 years. And these are habits that are being broken. That's awesome. Like, you're changing their makeup inside their body. It's awesome.
So it's obviously something simple for people to adopt, and it sounds like, based on just a few questions I asked you, and I want to keep our conversation to 30 minutes as we promised we would. It sounds like this is something that is enabling you to incorporate everything you want to talk to somebody about in a 21-day span and in a group setting. And I think that it's wonderful that you've embraced this, as so many other people that care about health and nutrition. So for those of you that are listening live or listening to the recording, the program that Jen is sharing with you that she has chosen to incorporate in her practice, it's Get Fit 21, and you should find out more about it, because if, like she said, your issue is you want to get in better physical health, or you want to gain weight, or you want to have less fatigue or better improvement in your digestion, whatever it is, it sounds like this could be an option and a solution to problems that you might be dealing with. So I would investigate that. And, Jen, I know this was a Cliff Notes version of what is cancer and how can we prevent it, but you did a wonderful job just keeping it light and comprehensible. And I'm really grateful, for your time.
Thank you.
You're the most outstanding, loving, kind, generous, beautiful person in the world. And I know that anyone that meets you, they say the same thing when they walk away from meeting you. So thank you very much. We hope that you'll come back again and do another workshop with us, and we can get deeper on some of the topics.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was an honor. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for those that attended, and please look forward to going to our Women Wellness Wisdom YouTube page if you want to be able to access this link and forward this conversation to people that you care about. So on that note, I'm going to say good night, and thank you for logging in and joining us. Good night.